we're back for another special edition this week of the Shenk N Spence Show. I'll be your co-host today, Matt, and I got my friend here, Spence, talking some football sports this week, and got him on the line here. How we doing today, Spence?
Oh man, I'm doing great. Middle of the week, I can't wait for this weekend. Even though I think we have Hurricane Joaquin that might be hitting the East Coast this weekend. Just kind of battling it out right now with work, and it's a nice opportunity to talk some football and escape a little bit with you here, and talk about these future games.
Right, especially coming off both coming off long days of college. We're both in college
Oh
students
yeah,
here. Had the long day at doing schoolwork and stuff, but I'm happy to
I
just
know.
switch some gears and talk some NFL football, and we'll jump into some Giants stuff later. But we're gonna kick off with we're gonna do some.
Let's roll with the previews, man. The
All
week
right,
week
we're
three
going.
was in the
We're starting
past.
real quick. Thursday night. Everybody's watching. Baltimore at the Steelers, one of the best rivalries, and also in the NFL. You also have some pretty interesting storylines. You have getting hit. He was stumbling. Mark Barron was stumbling to try to sack Ben Roethlisberger, and
Mhm.
Ben Roethlisberger just twisted his knee, and has a sprained MCL. He's going to be out for the next 6 weeks,
Yeah,
and it's going to be very interesting to see because Baltimore. This is a must-win situation for
it
Baltimore. They're
is.
0-3 right now. It's like
It is.
it's do or die for them now, and it's just. That's one of the big surprises in the NFL right
It
now, and
is.
and you think Joe Flacco is a top 10 quarterback in this league? He's
I
thinking like I
I
don't know
don't.
what's going on with them right now. Your thoughts on that, Miss Spence?
Well, usually you look at the Baltimore Ravens and they're supposed to be a defensive juggernaut. You have John Harbaugh there. You think of Ray Lewis, you think of Ed Reed, you think about you think of Terrell Suggs and just the leaders that they've ball, but they've been getting torched in the passing game. I mean, AJ Green, what did he have? 104 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. They made Andy Dalton look like Andrew Luck last week. They made the Red Rifle look like a complete stud. They made him look like a Hall of Famer. And then Derek Carr had a field day. If you remember that game in week 2, the Raiders came back in what was one of the most exciting Raiders wins in recent memory. So looking at their schedule, they had Denver week 1 at Denver in Colorado, 4 o'clock game versus Wade Phillips in that defense. I don't blame them for losing that game. They were expected to lose. One that they really needed to win. Now, Oakland's a little bit of a tricky team. They beat the Browns. They're a 2-1 football team. But if you're Baltimore, that's the one that you really needed. And then Cincinnati, with Geno Atkins healthy, I think the Bengals are a pretty good team. So, Shank, I'm going to flip it to you. Do you think do you think that they're in real, as I look at their secondary, and that's where I really see the weakness of Baltimore, in that tough AFC North?
Honestly, that's a really tough NFC AFC North up
It
there
is.
because you have all these players and teams who are basically real like quick, and they're just
Yeah,
like
you
on the
have
same
you
page
have
with talent
Antonio
and the
Brown.
type of personnel that they run, and it's just one of those things where I don't understand I don't understand they just can't, they're like the Giants this year, like you tell right now I can't put them into words because
Nah,
they're
but
one of the biggest surprise. They have all this talent. They have Suggs. They have Joe
yeah,
Flacco, Torrey Smith. I mean,
yeah.
it's
Well,
just one of those
they
things
don't have they
where
don't have Smith anymore, but
they
they have
gotta get the
Steve
ball
Smith.
rolling on this, and it's like what's going on? Like one of the Harbaughs, come on, man! Like you gotta show up and man up. And I think honestly, my prediction for them this week, I think they're gonna win, and I think because not even because Michael Vick is coming in for starting right now for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I just think that Baltimore just needs to win. They need
No,
to
it's
win
a
now,
must-win
and
game.
they were a playoff team last year. They were going pretty deep. They played New England tough
They
in
did.
the playoffs last year.
Yeah,
If you remember, they blew that game at the end of the game.
they did.
They
I
were
mean, a
up by
couple
two
reverses.
touchdowns. They
Yeah.
were up like double digit scores, and they blew that game. It's like
Mm.
I feel like they're still having that hangover from this year, and it's like one of those things. I honestly see. they're not going 0-4. There's no way in my
I
mind that
wouldn't.
I see that, and it's going to be one of them the battle in the trenches type of game, and I think they'll squeak one out 23-20.
I wouldn't put it I wouldn't blame them on their playoff loss last year. I mean, that was just Tom Brady being Tom Brady. No one could have stopped New England's offense last year. But Joe Flacco is a different dude when the lights are on and he goes into the playoffs. Because if you remember, he went into Pittsburgh on wild card weekend. Pittsburgh was the third seed that year. They have Le'Veon Bell, Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, Saturday night game, and Flacco plays lights out. I think he tosses 3 touchdowns, and Baltimore's defense again is able to hold. And the most surprising thing is just how decimated this secondary is, because as mentioned, quarterbacks have just had a field day. I look at Michael Vick. It's his first game returning in what must be 2 years. It's even a shock that Michael Vick is on an NFL roster, but I can tell you that game is actually more interesting. Vic is there than a Ben Roethlisberger game, because you know what you're getting with Ben. Steelers Ravens. It's usually like a 12-9 game that you can turn on late in the second half, and it's still going to be in single digits, or it's going to be 12-6. It's going to be a real ugly game, and that's usually what the rivalry turns out to be. But I'd give the nod to Baltimore here. The spread is Baltimore's getting 2 at Pittsburgh. I think they definitely can win this game by 7. So I would take the Ravens. 21-14 would be my pick, just because Michael Vick is so new. The Ravens are desperate, and I don't expect Michael Vick to light the world on fire just yet.
You're surprised.
Actually, not at all. I don't expect Michael Vick to light the world on fire at all.
Whoever's listening to us right now, man, I'm telling you right now that you're going to hear us debate all the time, and this is a very rarity that we're actually going to agree on something, Spence.
It is a little rare.
It's a little rare, but you know what? I mean, it's one of those things where it just has to happen.
Guess what? In this take with Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith, and it's actually more attractive for listeners to listen to people disagreeing and arguing. But this is real. These are our genuine opinions. So we're gonna agree on a lot of stuff, because this is again what we feel, and we're not gonna sugarcoat anything just to add that shock value of us arguing.
Jump right into our next topic. Our next game we are previewing is at Miami.
JTS.
At Miami. What do you think about that game?
Guess what?
Jets
Do you notice
going off a great win or lost?
Nope.
They had a terrible loss last week.
Nope. Both of these teams thumbs down big time.
They did pretty bad last week. I keep remembering that. Jets had so many missed opportunities last week. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick played like a deer in the headlights, and just watching him play against that Eagles subpar defense,
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where both of these teams they're not playoff teams in my opinion. They're just struggling to fight for the second and third AFC East spot in the division, in your East spot. And as I see right now, I mean, it's pretty even now. I mean, the line on the game is -1, and I believe the Jets
I'm seeing it as even.
I believe the Jets are favored in this game, and it's surprising because you would think that Ryan Tannehill, third or fourth year coming at
Texas
NFL
A&M
pro style Texas A&M type of offense, you would think that he would start to find his strides in the NFL now, and he just hasn't had any talent around him. He hasn't made the consistent decisions that he had. I mean, he had Brandon Marshall a couple years ago, but then he left, and then all of a sudden you have guys like Lamar Miller's of the world, and honestly, Lamar Miller is a great running back, but he's just not going to get it done.
No,
and this is going to be one of those games where it's a divisional game. They both hate each other, but I think this is going to be another close one. But I think the key in this game is just. I think Tannehill has something to prove, because the Jets offense has not proved to me anything since watching them last week. I mean, it was atrocious watching them last week.
Oh my gosh!
I even watched them. It was I can't even describe last week for the Jets.
Well, there's a reason.
So many missed opportunities.
There's a reason that this game is being played outside of the United States, and that's basically because the United States is like, let's let London, England, see how poor these two offenses can be. Like, we don't want a game here in the United States where these offenses are just going to be absolutely just disgustingly atrocious, and that's what this game's going to be. Because you look at Tannehill, he's completely lost out there. They hired that guy. Their offensive coordinator was a Chip Kelly, came from the Chip Kelly line of coaching, and they believe that they can kind of add this up-tempo style to their offense, kind of run the ball with Lamar Miller. But the bottom line is that they have Jarvis Landry, who is such a talented year player. They used to have Mike Wallace a couple of years ago, and people are going to start to need to realize that Ryan Tannehill made offs, and I think that he just gets way too much love and respect. He's almost, people say he's so underrated that I believe that Tannehill is overrated. I don't think that he has a strong arm. You never really see Tannehill throw a nice, pretty deep ball. I don't think he has the touch. I don't think he has great, awareness back there in the pocket to deliver the ball quickly and make quick decisions. I think you need a strong running game. He's still a wide receiver playing quarterback. Miami has just been atrocious. They got stomped by the Bills. What was it, 44-7 last year? Joe Philbin's seat is hotter than, hot chocolate in the middle of winter time. I mean, Joe Philbin, what a bland personality if you saw Hard Knocks, Shenko. I mean, the guy is about as interesting as my front door. That he's such a bland personality as a head coach. So I definitely think that this is his last year. But what Miami does have going for them is they have Cameron Wake and Ndamukong Suh, so they do play well versus the run. Even though Carlos Williams had 110 yards last week, I don't expect that Zach Stacy's going to come in there and light it up. So whatever the under is, I would take the under for this football game. And I'd have to, this is probably one of the toughest calls. Ryan Tannehill, if Decker's not there, he again is going to be absolutely lost. Just like Philadelphia. I don't get why the guy is still starting. Even close to being an elite level quarterback that can take over a game. So if Miami stops the run, you look at Revis is a little banged up, I would favor Miami slightly in a real ugly game, maybe a 13-7 game. And I'm going to turn on this game at 9 a.m. and they're going to see how ugly these two offenses are playing, and they're just going to go back to sleep and wait till 11:30 to start the Sunday.
That's good stuff, Spence, and I also totally agree with you on that. Now we're going to go to our favorite time of week, our favorite team that we all follow, and that's your New York Football Giants.
Absolutely.
Buffalo Bills, or Rex Ryan of the Bill. Now it's time to get some fun into this podcast.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm having a little fun insulting Ryan Tannehill, I mean, Ryan Tannehill. I mean, he married so well, though. His wife is, his wife's great. I mean, his performance has just blah so far in the NFL. But yeah, so you want to talk some G-men? You want to talk some Giants?
I see it on the schedule, man. I mean, that's my team. Bleed blue all day long.
Hell
yeah. All right, so we're gonna jump right into it here.
Dang right.
So mine is minus. The Bills are getting 5.5.
Yeah.
Bills are favorite at home. I mean, that's not a surprise to me.
Nope.
Eli is very erratic on the road, in my opinion. So far, I haven't really seen, great glimpses of him so far. He had some nice couple passes last week with Larry Donnell, and Odell Beckham just makes plays all day long with his new look visor and his honeycomb hair, but gotta give props to him on that one. And also, it's funny because Victor Cruz is coming back this week. He is probable from a kneecap strain. So it's one of those things where I'm very excited to see this offense come to fruition because that team chemistry is going to be coming back, and we definitely need him to step up in a big way this week. And I honestly think the Giants are they're gonna struggle on offense because I honestly think Rex Ryan is going to be. He's going to be back on his toes this week. He's got a lot to prove this week because, he got embarrassed last week by Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady just absolutely lit him up.
He did, but then Buffalo went to Miami, and Buffalo had a big convincing win back versus Miami. But I'm sure I'm sure that the difference between Tannehill to Eli is definitely concerning the Rex. And you're right, in that week 2 affair, Tom Brady definitely made him eat his words completely. He was bragging about his defense. Buffalo was starting to smell themselves, and Brady really stuck a fork in them. But you have to question: was it just Brady's greatness, or does Buffalo have some weaknesses in that defensive secondary that the Giants can exploit?
Buffalo always will have weaknesses. I haven't really remembered a time where the Bills were actually good since the 1990s. So like, I have a stereotype of the Bills as being the Bills
Sure.
because I mean Rex Ryan is a great coordinator, but I mean the Giants are going to make your Looney Tune mistakes like they do every week. But I think this is going to be one of those. I'm a little bit tossing and turning about the over under for this game
Mhm.
because like over under here is 46. I can easily see this being an over game because
Yeah.
I don't know, like I just don't see how things can transpire this game. Like it's one of those mystery games because Eli
Mhm.
can have a great day or Eli can have a bad day because it
Right.
depends on what the get types of personnel that the Bills are going to run, and it's one of those things you gotta wait and see this week because like I said before, Victor Cruz is coming back,
Mhm.
and that's one of those things you gotta watch out for.
So
Defensively, the ball, I feel like obviously they need to improve in a lot of areas. Definitely secondary and linebacking core. As far as I'm concerned, Jonathan Casillas needs to play more consistent ball.
mm,
Hopefully, Rogers Camardi is coming
right.
back this week with
Mm.
a injury to.
And the
I'm unfamiliar
Prince
what he injured
and the
with.
Prince.
Yeah, and he needs to come big this week, and Prince needs to eat his Wheaties this week because he needs to have a big time play from him.
You know,
And it's just
when I look
let's
when I
just gotta
look
hope
at
and pray.
when I look at this game, I think it comes down to a couple of things. First off, I'm very very worried about going into Buffalo because you mentioned how Buffalo's their stereotype in the past is that they don't have a great quarterback, they don't have a scary offense to really worry about, and their defense is strong. They don't usually have hope of being a playoff team, but I've seen that this year's Buffalo team is completely different. In Rex Ryan's first year with the Jets, he took them all the way to the AFC Championship game. He has more offensive tools around him and Chan Gailey than they ever have had before. Actually, might be Greg Romans, excuse me. So they have Harvin, who's playing very well, Shady McCoy, Carlos Williams out of Florida State, kind of the thunder and lightning dynamic that they need as Carlos Williams is a power back. Then you have Tyrod Taylor, who's playing at a very high level right now. But the way I really see this is I look at Tyrod Taylor. He's played well for the first couple games of the season, but if the Giants can really stuff the run, if Hankins and Wynn can really put pressure on McCoy, limit him, kind of stuff the run and put the Bills in the second and long situation, forcing Tyrod to beat you, that way I think the Giants defense can be efficient. But if
That's right.
McCoy is getting 6, 7 yards on first down, Buffalo's doing whatever they want,
It's gonna be
it's
a
gonna
long day for the New
it's
York
gonna be a
Giants, man.
long day. But I look at the Giants and I'm not very optimistic about their offensive prospects of coming into Buffalo and really succeeding because I look at Andre Williams and Rashad Jennings. I don't see how they're going to get past Mario Williams. I can't see the Giants running the ball down Buffalo's throat. They haven't really
When's
done
the
that to
last time
anybody.
the Giants ever had like a 200-yard rusher?
An
Like
elite.
it's been like too long, way too long.
Well,
Maybe
actually,
since the Ahmad
Rashad
Bradshaw days,
Jennings
but
had Jennings had that one lucky game versus the Texans last year. That might have been the day, but that was such an exaggeration.
right, exactly.
That was such an exception to the rule. I look at this game. I don't see the Giants scoring over 17 points. I think Eli has a they're magicians. Rex Ryan is a magician at coming up and disguising pressure blitzes. So I think it's going to be a very long day. It's going to be loud in Buffalo. It could be rainy. I don't see Eli really having a ton of success. I see, unfortunately, what I see is like a 24 to 13, a 24-10 game where Buffalo is going to easily handle the Giants here because I just think Buffalo has a ton of talent on defense. They're a dark horse contender in the AFC for me. I'm very high right now on the Buffalo Bills. They're a top 5 team in the NFL in my book. And the one good thing is the Giants do have 11 days to prepare. So, Shenko, what do you think about the Giants having more time to prepare? And do you see the Giants challenging Buffalo in this game and why?
Oh wow, that's a pretty deep question, Spence. Put me on the spot. I
That's my
think
job, man.
honestly, that long layoff should definitely help the Giants because
Mm,
Rogers Camardi needs to have a great game. Coming off an injury, he needs to step up. You have other guys that need to play up on this defense because they just need to get better on all phases of the ball, tackling, covering, coverages. Knowing where your assignments are. I mean, Prince needs to have a better game than he did against Atlanta a couple 2 games ago with that Julio Jones play. And you just got to be on your toes and you got to watch out and see what's going to happen because, I think they're going to be a lot prepared this week. I mean, nobody really expects the Giants to do anything this week because
mhm.
I honestly don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
But
would you
I'm
rather see a high scoring game or a low scoring game? What would favor the Giants more?
honestly, oh, definitely a low scoring game because honestly,
Mm.
like I said, I mean, even though I said on the last week's show, I'm excited to see the Giants, the new offense and whatnot. But on the second hand, I still have that erratic Eli Manning back there, deer in the headlights. And
Sort of, yeah.
honestly, like you just got, I don't know. I'm
So
sorry, I
net but
Spence because
I see the Giants winning this game if they magically, because Tyrod Taylor, he's the guy that I would least trust on the Buffalo Bills offense. If Tyrod Taylor, who's still relatively young, he's only starting his fourth game in his NFL career. If the Giants and Spagnola comes up with a solid defensive plan, they play some zone, and they really force, because Tyrod Taylor threw 3 interceptions versus New England. If we get Tyrod turning the ball over, because he's not a proven commodity. So that's the best chance for the Giants to win. If Tyrod throws us and gives us some gifts, like maybe 3 interceptions, the Giants can then hang with Buffalo. Winning the turnover battle right here will be key. So
I still,
Tyrod
I
Taylor, please help.
I still am sticking with my prediction from last week on last week's show. I
Sure.
just don't see Giants pulling out a win here. It's going to be a hard
Yeah.
fought game, and I think they're just going to lose a close one because
Yeah.
I either just think Eli just doesn't have enough help, and that
Looking,
comes to the
yeah,
bottom line, and that defense is subject. But we'll
looking,
see what's going to happen. We're going to move on to another
looking
game
at the
talking about
schedule though, and just
Carolina.
before we move on, I just want to say, looking at the schedule, that's really why the Buffalo game and the Atlanta games are so painful is because these Buffalo games you've pegged as losses. And if you had like say you won the Dallas game, right? Say you like were smart with the last drive there. The Giants would be 2-1 heading into this game, and then a loss wouldn't just decimate your year. 2-2 is a lot better than to the games when you look on your schedule, you kind of gasp and say, going to Rex Ryan, going to Buffalo, this is going to be a game most lose. So you have to win those coin toss games like those Atlanta games, because again, carry it over.
Yeah, it's a great point you bring up, Spence. I mean, we easily could have beat a 3 or 2-1 football team right now, but it's a long season, and I'm looking forward to football with you, man. And now
Absolutely. You
we're
want
going
to
to move
roll
on to
on?
our next
Let's
topic
roll
of
on.
discussion,
Let's roll
and we're
on.
going to talk about the 3-0 Carolina Panthers going on the road against your Heisman Trophy winner of Jameis Winston.
Correct.
Now, honestly, Carolina is in my opinion, and it's going to be in your opinions too, a very weak 3-0 team. They played some really poor opponents.
Yes.
Spence, remind me of the opponents they played against last week.
Well, last week was against not Drew Brees, but a Luke McCown-led Saints team.
Right. Yeah.
At
It was
home.
a Saints team that was very weak. They're 0 I believe they're an 0-3 team right now. The Saints are.
Yes, they are.
They played the Browns in week 1, I believe. And they also played.
Are you talking about Carolina or New Orleans? New Orleans, they played Arizona, and then in week 2, Tampa Bay went down there and actually beat them.
That's right, and they're a weak team too. So
Yeah, the AFC
Carolina,
South, the NFC South. So right now in that division, you have the Falcons at 3-0, and then you have the Carolina Panthers. And the Panthers, week 1, they went down to Jacksonville and got a win over Blake Bortles. That team still needs chemistry. It was a pretty ugly game. They managed to win. And then you had Ryan Mallett's first start with the Houston Texans in week 2 that they were able to win that game as well at
we're gonna
home.
see. We're gonna see what type of team that Carolina is made up this week because they could be easily a 4-0 team. They could be a sophomore slump, and they could lose this game pretty easily. I mean,
Sure.
all division games in the NFL are tough. I don't care what any NFL player says out there. Every game is going to be tough, and you just got to grind it out. And teams like that are just going to have to win.
Yeah.
And Carolina I think they're going to start to break out into one of those teams where they're hitting you got to win these week games at the end of the
Sure.
schedule, and it might just make up for them at the end of the year
Sure.
when they play much harder teams in the NFL. So I think this week's going to be interesting. It's going to be a pretty close game until halftime, and I honestly think Carolina's just going to roll on them in the third quarter. It's just way too much talent. Carolina. I mean, they have Cam Newton comparing to Jameis. I mean, can't compare that because Jameis Winston's still developing. And you just also have Jonathan Stewart from Carolina. He's just a great running back, playing at the top of his level right now, and basically coming out. And it's that defense led by Luke Kuechly,
Yes.
definitely an up-and-coming star in that defense. And
Yes.
I just love the way he plays. He's got a great instinct for the ball.
He does.
And just like he's that leader, that captain of that defense, and he's just going to cause a lot of havoc for Jameis this week. And I honestly feel that Carolina is they're just going to come out on top this week, 23-10, and that's just my prediction this week.
I like that pick. I don't really think we're gonna truly see like Carolina. I still think that this is a very winnable game. So you still don't know if they're a pretender or not. They're just really benefiting from an easy schedule. Doug Martin, I don't think Doug Martin's going to have success versus Carolina front, as you mentioned there with Luke Kuechly and the talent that they have. Carolina's defense has been their staple. Cam makes enough plays in this game. I'm not fully confident in Carolina. Like, it's not like a real lock because, Jameis Winston could catch fire this week. I do see Carolina, though, squeaking this out. Something like, I do see a game. I'm going to say the final score right here is going to be like 17-13. I still think Carolina covers, winning by 4. I think that's a popular. The line is pretty close. It's 3 for Carolina. I think the game's going to be tight, but I think that they will cover by 4.
Yeah, I think they will at least cover by at least more than that touchdown. And I this will be a fun game to watch. I mean, everybody who has Sunday ticket out there, turn to that game. That's gonna be also a game to watch. And
I think that'll be I think that'll be a decent game. It's not as interesting as the New York Giants playing the Buffalo Bills. I mean, I think that game's like a 10 out of 10 in terms of excitement. You have no idea what's going to happen in that game. That game still has a lot of surprises. It could be a blowout. They could keep it close. In this game, I don't see a high-scoring game between Carolina and Tampa Bay. I think that they're two pretty mediocre teams. Or Carolina's just a little bit better. So.
Right. And then,
so you want to go to the Washington game? I mean, let's talk about the NFC East a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about two teams.
Spence, you're catching me on a good night tonight because I was just about to talk about that game next. And you know what? It's a win-win situation for me being a Giants fan living in Philadelphia because, Dunkin' Donuts, they give out free coffee every Monday or Tuesday. The game after the win, I always get free coffee when the Eagles win. So it's always a win-win situation
It's one of the perks.
And honestly, man, I think the Eagles are going to win next week again because Washington is just a abysmal team to watch. It's unbelievable. They are so horrible. Which quarterback to start. I mean, I could go on and on about Washington. Okay. You could say all my stuff about New York Giants being really bad and, Eli being the sore loser he is and, deer in the headlights. But Washington is so, that organization right now.
Black. Dan Snyder is a train wreck of an owner, man.
He's I don't know.
He's just a shock jock type of dude. I mean.
I think they just lost D'Angelo Hall for a decent amount of time last week. He had that
Hmm.
unfortunate injury against the Giants.
Yes,
He
yes.
had a very bad injuries in
I think it
his
was a knee injury. Yeah,
12-year career. I mean,
he's
it's
been a
sad to see,
beast.
but like,
He's one of those guys that'll get in your face. One of the best trash talkers I think that this game has seen in a while. So I'm
also
kind of I like
one of
watching
those
him play.
dirty players too. Very dirty player, in my opinion. But
I think a lot of NFL players might agree with you on that. He's a controversial player. I'll say that.
come on, man. I know. Hey, man, you don't question the Shenko here. I know my stuff too.
Oh yes. Okay, so basically, you're not giving Captain Kirk any credit. Kirk Cousins.
Absolutely not. No. Why would I give
I'm a
credit?
Kirk guy.
He
I
struggled
believe.
last week against a putrid Giants defense.
Nah, I believe in Kirk.
Honestly,
He has. Look at Tannehill. You look at the difference between the way the ball comes out with an Alex Smith and a Ryan Tannehill compared to Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins can sling it. He can really fit it in the tight windows. He just needs to be more decisive. And the thing that would annoy me the most is Washington Redskins fans. You need to be patient. You need to let Kirk Cousins start 16 games of this season and see where you will go. Because the point is, Kirk's never had a full year. Where RG3, he gets full years every time he's healthy. You need to let Kirk Cousins have a full year. I still believe that this guy is smart enough. He's a very intelligent player. And I think he has the arm talent to actually fare very well in this league. I do.
understand
I
where
do.
you're coming from, but I think you're giving Kirk way too much credit. I mean, we had a great offense at Michigan State, but other than that, like, you could plug Aaron Rodgers, one of my favorite quarterbacks. You could plug Tom Brady. He's just gonna throw all these touchdowns with the Redskins. I mean, you're giving Kirk Cousins way too much credit. The decisions that he's making are so poor. Like, you just like
No,
what
I
are you
know,
like?
but
What are
he
you
needs
looking at, Kirk? It's like
he needs
you're like a third year in, and you should be knowing by now. Fourth year.
he needs time to develop in this offense. You have no Deshaun Jackson. Pierre Garcon's your number one receiver. I mean, they don't have a ton of weapons. And last week, the Giants D was stuffing the Redskins running backs, Matt Jones and Alfred Jones. So it was basically up to Kirk Cousins. The entire game was placed into his hands. And RG3, rarely any NFL quarterback starting. Nick Foles, Derek Carr, no one would have fared well under those circumstances. So Washington, Kirk Cousins is under so much scrutiny each week. He just has to simply grasp the offense. He always has a new coordinator. It's a revolving door of offensive coordinators. So you need to let the guy start for a year. That's all I'm saying. You need to see what you have in him because there's been some bright spots. I mean, St. Louis game in the second week, he was so efficient. Last year versus the Eagles, he had a wonderful game at Lincoln Financial Field. I mean, he's shown that he does have the talent to at least move the football down the field. It just comes down to getting to his second and third progressions and kind of trusting that.
It's such an unusual situation down there because there's reports saying that RG3 and Kirk Cousins don't even want to speak to each other. Like, in a conventional team atmosphere, you're supposed to help each other out. And
Sure.
and you have RG3 playing scout team. And it's just a DB. It's one of those things where it's
Yeah.
just a weird situation down there. I think the Eagles. It's going to be one of those close games again because Eagles don't blow out anybody in this National Football League. They're not a.
No, they don't. And Sam Bradford has just been putrid thus far. I mean, he's skipping footballs like my sister would throw the football. I mean, I don't get all this hype surrounding Bradford. Like, I don't get how you could support the guy anymore. I mean, Sam Bradford is a very nice person. Unfortunately, he's very, he's a very thin quarterback, but I just don't think he has the necessary arm talent to kind of be like an elite level quarterback, such as like a Flacco or even an Eli. I look at Bradford and he's really struggled. He's been very indecisive. And Mark Sanchez, for what it's decisive. So this is a game where Sam Bradford, he just hasn't, I don't think that he's completed a pass to a wide receiver over 25 yards this whole year thus far.
Right. And,
so what do you think about Sam Bradford and how he's performing thus far? Do you see the light at the end of the tunnel for Sam Bradford? How long should his leash be as a starter?
Well, I think that he's given the enough time and credit because, he's coming off another ACL injury. I mean, you should give him the entire year to basically develop into his, Chip Kelly offense. I mean, He had a lot of great times in the preseason. He played pretty well. And then, you have He needs to develop more, and he needs to be on the same page with the receivers. Just watching last week,
Yeah.
it was just like watching. It's just watching like a peewee squat out there. He's missing Riley Cooper on slant routes.
Yeah.
He's missing
Awesome. He's
Aguilar on out
behind
routes. It's just
everybody.
one of those things where he needs to get his timing down on his receivers. And that run game needs to be improved, and it definitely saw an improvement last week. I mean, honestly, DeMarco Murray being out honestly helped the Eagles last week because
Yeah.
you have that explosive Darren Sproles in the backfield because he just turns on the Jets and he goes. He had that 80-yard punt return,
Stutter
and
bug, man.
that was a key momentum swing in that game. And
Sure.
just like it was just one of those things where like it actually being Murray being hurt, helping them because
Yeah.
Ryan Matthews tough. I saw he fights for every single yard. It's like you definitely need that 1-2 punch in this league, and it's like I think they're better off without Murray in my opinion because they proved
So,
last week they didn't even need him.
so
And
you bring up some interest. You bring up some great points, about DeMarco Murray, and I think Murray had one great season with Dallas, and other than that, he's been very injury prone. He's been iffy. Okay. Same with
yeah,
I look at the talent. I look at Ryan Matthews, and I think that if he played behind the Dallas offensive line, if they gave him the rock as much time as they gave Murray, I see similarities between Ryan Matthews and DeMarco Murray. And just because Murray is older, he's been in the public eye more, he's got a huge contract. That's the reason that they're starting Murray. But I look at Ryan Matthews and I think that he could be just as useful. He's just as young as Murray. So I think the Eagles really overspend it so far on Murray. And you know what? It's only been 3 games, so the Eagles can still prove me wrong. But Murray, he just doesn't have the quickness of a Ryan Matthews or a Darren Sproles or even a LaShawn McCoy, as mentioned.
well, Murray is definitely a different type of runner than McCoy ever was because Murray is more of a
Downhill?
north-south type of player. I mean, you could
Sure.
see it when he was with Dallas. I mean, Dallas has a much better offensive line than the
Yeah.
Eagles, and he's those holes for in Dallas, you can drive trucks through them, and it's just like LaShawn McCoy honestly was great for the Eagles because the Eagles' offensive line wasn't that good, but then McCoy can do his razzle dazzle, and he
Right.
can make
He
all these
makes the
yards.
line. He makes the line look
Right,
better. So sometimes Eagles fans are saying, "Well, you got to go north and south." But what happens if the South way is getting blocked by defensive tackles? And that's where
exactly, and
Murray doesn't
that's
have.
the problem
He
with them
doesn't
right
have
now.
the
They
ability,
just
right,
can't block.
to change directions. And McCoy is kind of like, I'm going to use this word again, but he's kind of like a magician. Like he can kind of escape and make something out of nothing, and that's not DeMarco's skill set. He's
Right.
much more of a traditional back, and with the Eagles guards, Gardner, they're Barbary, they're really struggling right now, and and it's not Murray's fault, but with the holes that the Eagles' offensive line has, you need an improviser at running back to kind of negate their deficiencies. So that's where you kind of have a LaShawn McCoy who can do those certain things. But I just want to go back on your point about Sam Bradford. I like that you said that he should start the whole year and kind of grasp this offense. And I don't get why a lot of Washington Redskins fans are treating, you know, Cousins in such a different way. Shenko, because everyone's saying Kirk Cousins should be benched for McCoy, and we want Kirk Cousins. He has such a short leash, but let the guy start for a year. He's out of Michigan State. He's a 4th-round pick, and RG3 has started seasons and has looked pretty poor doing so. So let Cousins at least have 1 year just to see what you got, and just be patient and be stable at that position. And I like what you had to say about Sam Bradford.
I totally agree with you saying about at least starting Cousins for the whole year.
Yeah.
Getting his feet wet because
Exactly.
he's always under the spotlight of RG3 because RG3 is the flashy guy. They gave up
The
all these
house.
first round draft picks, and they all went to the St. Louis Rams, and like just one of those things where it's like Washington needs just to honestly, if Cousins doesn't work out, then they should just dump everybody because they should just
Yeah.
start over.
The
Because
head coach.
honestly,
The head
they're all
coach.
going to be busts. I mean, Yeah,
Right.
start McCoy one or two games, but he's just
No,
proven to
he
be a
he
backup
he
at
is
best.
what he is,
It's just one
coming
of those
from
things.
Cleveland. He's a little bit old. He's a lot older than Kirk Cousins. He had his chances in Cleveland. He plays okay football. I think Kirk has a lot more upside than a Colt McCoy, who's just kind of a guy who's efficient, known as like a dink and dunk sort of guy. So you want to
Real
move
quick,
on now?
Spence. Real
You
quick, Spence. What's your prediction? We're starting to run out of time here.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're gonna start flying through these games. I'm gonna switch it up on you and go a little upset city. I think it's going to be Hurricane Joaquin is coming into the nation's capital. I look for Matthew Jones and I look for Alfred Morris this week to have a lot more success. And I
Big
am taking the Washington Redskins in a
wow,
24-17 shocker at
really a
FedEx
shocker.
Field.
Wow.
I think that they run
I'm
the
honestly, I'm
football.
gonna go against the Spence this week. I'm gonna take
All
the
right.
Philadelphia Eagles this
Yeah.
week.
You're going
I don't
conventional.
see any reason to pick the Skins because they
Okay.
struggled against my mediocre Giants, and honestly, I just don't see any improvements coming out of them. I mean, I don't think. I mean, that coach down there, Jake Gruden, I don't think he's
Yeah.
doing that great of a job. And
Okay.
honestly, Philadelphia just has way more talent to work with, and I
Sure.
think they're going to be okay. And it's going to be an uphill battle. They're going to win the game. I think it's going to be close. It's going to be 27-24 Eagles, and I'm going to get my free coffee this week. Woo! Woohoo! Very excited for that.
Yeah, that means that, yep, that's a push, and you're going to get your coffee and your Dunkin' Donuts, man.
All right, so we're
But
going to
I'm
go
sure
through.
if the Giants goes, you'll go to Dunkin' Donuts. You'll drive to wherever and Dunkin' Donuts
That's
if
right,
the
man.
Giants
It's right
beat the
up the street
Eagles.
from me. It's a couple blocks from me right
Yeah,
now. I
you'll
can go
pay
get a
$20
coffee.
for the Giant at Dunkin' Donuts for the Giants to beat the Eagles.
Oh my God, yeah, I'll still go in for that coffee if the Eagles beat the Giants. Hey, coffee's coffee.
Oh yeah.
That's a life of a college student right
Oh
there.
yeah,
But
you got to
we're gonna
wake
take
up
2 minutes for
early.
each game now.
You
So
have classes at such odd hours, and then it's kind of like you drink the coffee, get hyped up for the class, and then after you can usually take a power nap because you usually have those gaping holes in your
fresh. Oh
schedule.
yeah, most definitely. All right,
Let's
we're
roll.
we're
Rapid
gonna
fire,
this is an
rapid
interesting
fire
game.
now, man.
All right, here we go. Oakland at Bears.
Okay, so the line is Oakland favored by 1, and
Okay.
I think if I'm not mistaken, it's still Jimmy Clausen.
You know what's funny?
Is it
This is.
Clausen or
I just saw
Cutler?
a stat today. Oakland is actually a favorite for the first time in 20. I believe it's 27 games, NFL
Okay.
games.
Okay.
Oakland Raiders have always been dogs. They always been the underdogs, but this week they are favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things. Honestly, spiral right now. Like that is a 0-3 squad. Jay Cutler should just get right. Seeing him, he's such a mediocre quarterback. They overpaid for him. And Oakland is just an upcoming team. Derek Carr, Amari Cooper.
Sure.
They got some great young talent. I think they win this game going away. I think they win this game 35-7. That's my pick.
Oh man, that's such a bloodbath. But guess what? Oakland Raiders are still Oakland. Okay, they're still the Oakland Raiders, and they will Raider. Meaning that they will slip up. They don't have the confidence. They don't have the urgency to get to 3-1. You need to kind of have that. You need to have that veteran feel. Like the Carolina Panthers, they know how to win close games. They know how to win on the road. I think that the Chicago Bears come back, and it's so tough because of Jimmy Clausen or Cutler.
Yeah,
it's
ahead.
Not a confident pick. The line's low. The line's low for a reason. I'm taking Chicago.
Say Chicago. All right.
Chicago, man. Chicago wins the game like 20-16. Carr throws a late pick to give him the deal. We got Houston and Atlanta. Atlanta's -5 at home, trying to go to 4-0 versus Ryan Mallett and the Houston Texans.
I feel so bad. I feel so bad for your J.J. Watt, man, because he's such a great specimen. He plays like out of his mind. He works out so hard in the offseason just to, play in that scheme that he's in down there. It's one of those things where I can't even see this team winning another game this year just because the way they don't have any consistent play at the quarterback position. They got rid of Andre Johnson last year, a great wide receiver. Now he's with the Colts. Now, I mean, the Texans defense is going to keep him in the game because honestly, Atlanta, Matt Ryan will throw a pick or two because that's what Matt Ryan does, and he's just one of those average quarterbacks in this league. But yeah, I see Atlanta getting it done this week. I'll make a prediction. Probably going to be 17-10 this week. That'll be one of those low scoring type
Mm.
affairs. So I'm looking forward to that game.
Yeah. Houston played very well last week versus Jameis Winston. Arian Foster's returning this week, which is a huge positive. The Atlanta Falcons, they really shut down Dallas's running game, and so you have potential, actually. I mean, he has all the tools to be great. He just needs to, really have that intellectual ability as a quarterback to really go through his reads because, again, he's 6'5" and has a cannon. The guy, he has all the tools that he needs to be successful. But I look at it. I look at Atlanta here in the dome. They're 3-0. I think Julio Jones gets out to a huge start. I really like the Atlanta Falcons in this game as well. I'm going to give it 31-24 Atlanta.
It's higher scoring affair than I am. I'm going to go right along here. Kansas City at Cincinnati. Ooh, another interesting, intriguing game.
This is another intriguing game. I love the Bengals at home -3. I love Cincinnati here at home.
Andy, do you like Andy Dalton?
I don't love Andy Dalton.
I think you have a man crush for him.
Oh my gosh. I'm a little bit of the opposite. I think when it turns playoff time and prime time, I'm not a huge Andy Dalton guy. You could say that about Kirk Cousins, but the Dalton? I don't know if I'm ready to go there with Dalton yet.
I don't know, man. You had that look in your eye.
What about Dalton? Oh, please. I mean, I like Dalton a bit. I like AJ Green a bit more. I love Cincy. You like
honestly
Alex Smith? Come on, man.
Kansas City's gonna pull out this one because honestly, Kansas City is one of those desperate teams. I think they've lost two in a row. I mean, they had Devin lost to the Broncos in week 2, and then they had a bad loss again. They just played some really difficult teams, and Cincinnati's just another tough game for them. But I honestly think Alex Smith will get the job done this week, and
they're done.
Everybody can't win every single game, so I see Kansas City pulling this one out.
They're toast. 23-10 Cincy. They're toast. I don't see Alex Smith having any success versus the defense of the Cincinnati Bengals. I really don't.
It's all about the revenge factor this week. All right, we go Cleveland at San Diego.
Oh, man, do I hope San Diego wins this game so I can see my boy Johnny Manziel get to actually play.
That is totally correct. I'm tired of seeing Johnny McCown, man.
I'm tired of McCown. It's just such an atrocity for this franchise to be doing this to a first-round pick. You got to see what the guy is. You got to let him start 16 games. That's been the constant theme. You got to let Manziel struggle, fail, and gain, and also mature and also make progress. So they're just, again, they're just, suspending the progress of their guy. And I don't know if Manziel will ever recover from this. I really don't.
He just needs to have a new start. But yeah, we picked the San Diego. I believe they'll do well this week. Philip Rivers,
certainly.
All-pro quarterback. I think they'll win going away with this one, 27-10.
Certainly.
And we're gonna move right along. Green Bay at Frisco. It's a pretty easy game for you, don't you think, Spence?
Oh yeah, I mean Green Bay all the way in this one. Kaepernick has looked disastrous. It is a 9-point spread. That's gonna be tough because San Francisco might get some garbage time TDs.
You know what's sad though? This game last 2 years ago in the playoffs was a great game to watch, and now you just see San Francisco, taking going to the toilet bowl now, and they're not even competing for the Super Bowl now. It's like
it's kind of unbelievable.
Colin Kaepernick has been digressing as a quarterback.
Yes.
I mean, being the coach Tom Sulo doesn't help out at all.
Yes.
Changing of the coordinator, changing the coach. It's just fashion. San Francisco got blown out last week. Yeah. I just see another,
I love
28-3 game.
I see Green Bay just waxing them as well, It's amazing because I think Colin Kaepernick, like NFL defenses have started to discover what Kaepernick is all about. He never was exceptional at getting through his reads, and a lot of it was Frank Gore. A lot of it was him having the ability to run, but him as a pocket passer, I mean, he never was effective like that in college at Nevada. And now he has a strong arm, but he's not a guy who can consistently spin it and beat you from the pocket like a Brady or even like a Drew Brees. He's just not that type of guy.
All right, good stuff, Spence. We got five more. We got four more games, and
Yep,
I
and then
think
we're gonna wrap this baby up.
it's rapid
We should.
fire. St.
I'm
St.
gonna
Louis
keep.
and Arizona.
I'll keep a tab of the games that we select too. We'll keep a running tab and kind of measure our records week to week.
That's
So
right.
we'll have
St.
a little
Louis at
challenge.
we got St. Louis at Arizona.
I'm going to take this one first. Arizona's just on fire right now. They're one of the best teams in football. Nick Foles, they couldn't even beat a Ben Roethlisberger-less Steelers team last week. So I look at St. Louis, and they're always kind of pretenders with Jeff Fisher. Larry Fitzgerald is playing out of his mind this year. Arizona, they're a top 3 team, and the line is low. I think this should be a 10-point line instead of a 6-point line. It's going to be low scoring. St. Louis has a decent defense for sure. I'm going to say like 20 to 10. I'll just say Arizona, but a comfortable win for the Cards.
Totally agree with that. I mean, Arizona's defense is playing out of their mind. Carson Palmer's starting to look like the Cincinnati Bengal of old. I love Palmer coming out of 2003 draft USC. I love USC as growing up as a kid, but
Yeah. I
got
mean,
off topic there. But
they've had some quarterbacks that have struggled though, like Barkley, Matt Cass. You know, right, Liner. But Palmer has been the sole guy. He definitely has had a resurgence. But USC is a powerhouse, and with Pete Carroll, they were fantastic. So
that's right. And
I
Arizona,
can't complain there.
I think is kind of a. I'm going to go out and say it right now. I think they're a dark horse to go to the Super Bowl this year. They're healthy, man. They have a. He used to coach at. Temple, and I go to Temple, and it's one of those things where it's like I gotta show my love to Bruce Arians. So
certainly,
I think Bruce is gonna come out real quick, with a win.
Denver,
Minnesota at Denver.
Yep. You want me to take it from here? I mean, I like the Broncos. Their defense is playing very well. Minnesota's not a good road team, so I take the Broncos. 4.5, really comfortable line. I like the Broncos a lot here. I think Minnesota's still a pretender.
I love the Broncos this week. Peyton Manning, 39 years of age. He's still got that swagger. I mean, Minnesota's still not do like Minnesota. I mean, in a couple years from now, but just right now, I mean,
totally.
It's just totally different feel for Denver. So
let's
I think
hear.
they squeaked that out.
I want to hear this game from you real quick. Is Dallas? Brandon Weeden heads into the New Orleans Superdome to take on the Saints, and New Orleans is favored by 7 points in this one. Sunday night game. Louisiana, the Cowboys come there.
Who knows with this kind of game because I mean, both quarterbacks might be. It's a night game. People are going to watch this garbage on TV? What's going on?
I love it. I love sloppy football. I love imperfection. So it's going to be fun seeing McCown and Weeden. I think that's better than like an Alex Smith versus Tannehill because I kind of like, these guys they're kind of getting their shot right now. It's going to be I'm going to have some laughs,
As a Giants
it's a fun game.
To lose, but honestly,
I like the game.
Dallas winning this game. I mean, they had a really bad, loss last week. They gave up 39 points to Matt Ryan's Falcons, and it's one of those things where they got to come back fiery this week. And the Saints are just another team that made some very poor, personnel decisions, letting go of Darren Sproles a couple years ago, letting go of Jimmy Graham this past year. I don't know what the Saints were thinking there, and I very well right now, and Dallas will squeak out that win to be able to.
And I think it's a comfortable cover. I mean, 7 points, New Orleans, too high of a line.
We got one last one.
Seattle.
Detroit at Seattle.
Not my favorite Monday night game. I don't like seeing Seattle in a Monday. I don't like seeing them in night games at all because their defense shuts the other offense down. I'm not a fan of watching the Seattle play because, even though they're great, they make the other team look so poor and unwatchable. I don't know what your feelings are about watching Seattle games.
Honestly, I'm very indifferent about watching games because they messed up a lot of people's picks last year in the Super Bowl. A lot of money was swung onto the in the favor of the Patriots that last year. But I'll never forget. That type of play. Marshawn Lynch should have got at the 1 yard line. That's all I keep remembering about Seattle now, and it's unfortunate. But Seattle is upcoming team. They're still the powerhouse. They still got the 12th man this week, and
Yeah.
I think they're gonna win this one. It's gonna be they need to get back on the winning track again. They got to win more consistently. They'll go to 2-2 this week. They're
Yeah.
gonna squeak out
Seattle,
another
I
twenty
don't,
three twenty
yeah,
win.
Seattle will cover. I'm taking them 31-10. I don't really care what Seattle is. I don't even care if they're 9-7, 10-6. I don't care if the Rams come in there and beat Seattle at home like 34-7. I'm still going to believe in this team long term. I really am. It doesn't matter. When you get to the playoffs, that defense is such the method of consistency that Carroll and that defense